Good day, Yash.
Hello. Check this out.
What's
I turned
this?
into a cat.
Oh, nice. Little basket.
Yes, she's here.
That's cute.
Hello. Anyway, yes. Hi. I just had to show that off. She's
It
sitting
always
here
starts
being
it off on
really cute.
a good note.
Yes.
See if I can get my microphone to stop sinking down. Okay, it's Monday. Gotta turn the brains back on, or at least mine.
It is Monday.
A real Monday?
Yeah. Oh my God. You're like brains back on, and my mind goes like, what brain? It's also not present.
Well, maybe I think always what helps me is to start doing work things. And so today I think what we're going to be doing is taking spin for a spin, I think is a catchy title I've seen thrown around.
Yes.
So we're going to try and install an AKS, but first, what is spin? So I've heard of spin for WebAssembly, and this is from Fermion. I think I'm saying that right.
Yes.
And essentially what it is it's a tool to help you deploy WebAssembly. Like that's the general description that I know of. Like, do you have any more context? Like I know what it does, but it's hard. Like even knowing what something does, it's hard to describe the thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think I can explain it like somewhat compactly. So we have WASM time, which is a WebAssembly runtime. It takes the bytecode and it does like all the stuff, and it contains like a sandbox and interpretation, lots of optimizations. It's like a proper thing, kind of like Chrome, but without the browser parts, right? Like or like Node.js, where it's a proper like runtime thing. Spin takes that project, pulls it as a library. It's actually very small. When I say Node.js, people might be like, "Oh my god, that sounds really big." But no. Well, sometimes really compact. Spin takes that and says, "Hey, we're not just going to do like the standard WASI APIs, the basic ones, the ones that everyone agrees on. We're going to add our own stuff because we would like you to not have to wait for full standardization. We'd like you to have access to databases, to LLMs, to logging, to key value, to all of these things, integrations with, I don't know, Redis, Postgres, all that stuff. And they provide that for you. So it does a lot of stuff, but it's also like all the stuff that you want and need. And that is Spin. And then Spin Cube is, what if we take this runtime and rather than using Docker, we allow Kubernetes to directly deploy to, like Spin instances. So it's this rich runtime built for the cloud, like split up, like so you can like run it everywhere instead of like using containers.
Gotcha.
Okay, that was a lot of words. What did that make sense?
It makes sense because if I can get my words out here, we've been running into a lot of stuff with just using kind of the standard things. Like you created the WSTED because a lot of the things didn't quite exist and it was lower level than most people are used to coding against, and which is why you created that. So it makes a lot of sense, and there is definitely a lot of room for stuff like that to just make the things work. So the little phrase that I pulled from their repo, which is this, is a framework for building and running fast, secure, and composable cloud microservices with WebAssembly. So it's really a tool aimed around improving that developer experience with WebAssembly. And I dabbled with it. Oh man, it's probably been a year ago. I deployed Spin and got through the tutorial, but that's pretty much like all I've done with it so far. So I know that they've made a lot of progress. So we'll just have to see how all that progress has been made. And we're going to deploy to AKS, I think, today. So we'll just probably just walk through and create a new cluster, so that way people can see that. So let's go ahead and we'll walk through the tutorial, and then we'll deploy the sample app. And I think what we'll do, if we have time, and if not, we can kick it to the next stream, is modify the sample to deploy the web clippy or WYSI clippy. And then see if we can't get that running in AKS. Because then we've taken at least one WebAssembly from creating it and composing it all the way to deploy. And then we can kind of jump back into the work that we've been doing with our other component with the LLM.
Exactly. So,
because I think this will anchor it for me, because a lot of my background's more on like getting the thing running in an environment versus building the thing.
Yeah, and I'm super glad I've got you here because you're like, hey, that's my background. And I'm like, I have no background in that. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Well, I feel that same way when it was just the other day that you helped me with that coding problem, and
Yeah.
like you don't have a lot of Go background, but I knew that you
Mm.
had like like really solid programming background. So I was like, I'm trying to do this thing. It's not testable the way I've done it, or very testable. And you're like, oh, well,
Mhm.
just do this. Problem
Yes.
solved. So
Yeah, yeah,
likewise,
yeah.
grateful. Let's see here. Let's make this a little bit bigger so we can see it.
Mhm.
So I'm just gonna have code terminal up on the right, and then we'll walk through the tutorial. So this, let me make sure we get this link and put it in the chat. So if anybody wants to follow along on their own time, it will be there.
Can you up the font size of the tutorial also just one? Yeah, yeah, perfect.
Okay, we'll stay there. Did that post? I don't know if it did.
I didn't see it.
StreamYard is not sending my messages. I'll put it
Oh
for a
my
link in
God.
the description of the video if it doesn't. Maybe it'll queue through. I don't know. We'll find out.
Let's find out. It's for people who want to like follow along, you just go to the spincube.dev website.
Yeah.
And it's under installation and then install on Azure Kubernetes service.
I have a theory right now that a lot of these things are going to make more sense as soon as I start to use Spin, because it's got a lot of the easier tools. Like a
Yes.
good example or analogy might be with Go. There's a sort package, but there's no just like sort method on everything, which I came from a higher level language, and like everything that created a data structure had a sort method to it. And now I've had to create and like learn sort algorithms and implement or use the sort package. And that's kind of what it felt like diving into the weeds of the WebAssembly component stuff. Cause I'm like, where are all my nice little tools?
Yes.
So I think it'll be that way. So let's see. We need kubectl, and I have that.
Okay.
We need
Are you logged into?
To Azure? I believe so. We'll find out.
Oh, okay.
I'm logged into the operating system though. I'm just
My God, really? How'd you do that?
I have Helm and I do have Azure CLI, and we'll log in just easy account show. I don't think that'll have anything crazy. Yes. So I'm logged in.
Great.
So we can proceed. So I'm logged in. I've got my account set. That's just if you have multiple subscriptions in Azure and you want to target a specific one. This always gets me with our corporate tenant, because like I'm like, hey, you can't deploy resources here. I'm like, well, what do you mean I can't deploy resources? And it's because I'm logged into like a super lockdown tenant or subscription. I'm like, oh,
right.
Okay. Yes, I can't create Microsoft clusters for everybody. So let's create a new resource group. So AZ group. So if you're not familiar, in Azure, resource group is just kind of like how things are contained. Like a set of resources is put into a group. And that's the AZ group create command, which is backwards from the verb noun that I'm used to in PowerShell. RG spin operator. A lot of people complain about the verb noun, but I found it so useful for discovery.
Verb noun is like,
yeah, like get account or something. Get AZ account. So PowerShell is backwards from most Bash stuff, where Bash is going to be like, especially with here. A good example is this: AZ account set.
Yeah, I like that.
I always do set account. Right?
Oh, interesting.
Because it's verb noun instead of noun verb.
Yeah.
In PowerShell. But what that allows you to do is like, okay, well, I know I want to get like get commands, get, and then something with account. And then I can just like look through all the commands that have get and account until I find the right one. So it's helpful there. You can't really do that discovery with the Bash tools, but
fun.
Just a preference with like 10 years PowerShell stuff. Let's see, AZ group. I haven't written anything in like probably close to 3 years now. Anything substantial anyway.
PowerShell related, you mean?
Yeah. Yep. Spin operator. Germany.
What?
West Germany, West Central. I'll use Central US. That's where I'm from. Just the resource group location.
I thought someone in chat was like, "Hello from Germany." I was like, "What's happening?"
What's in Germany? What's this? What's the artist that did like the Du Hast song that was super popular a while ago? They were from Germany, weren't they?
Rammstein.
Yes, Rammstein. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that a legit German word?
Du
Hast?
hast means you have.
You have. Okay.
And the song goes something like you have me something.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I never knew that.
Lived in Germany for 5 years. I know a little bit of German, not much, but just enough.
You're much more traveled than I am. That's for sure. Although it's probably easier in the UK because like isn't like well not UK but like that side of the pond, Europe.
Oh yeah.
Because isn't
go ahead.
Well, isn't like the United States, like I remember this one short that I was listening to. This guy was a lot of Europeans like to make fun of the Americans because we don't know like how far distances are there. You know, like it's an hour and we're like, oh, well, that's not very far.
Yeah.
Because you could travel like 6 hours and be in like 3 or 4 different countries. Where here, like you could do that. And like it would take me 8 hours to get across the state I live in Nebraska. Like I could be in Nebraska for 8 hours straight.
Interesting. But it depends like what mode of travel, right? Because if you're like,
well, yeah, if I'm not in a plane, it's all car related. Yeah.
So yeah, exactly.
It'd still take me a couple hours in a plane to get across Nebraska, like from east to west.
How interesting. Yeah, here like things like high-speed rail come to play here. Like if you had fast trains, like
how fast do they go? How fast do the high-speed rails go?
The ones
faster than a plane?
No. Like a plane can go like regular commercial flights, like big airliners that go across the pond. They're subsonic, but they go like I think 800 kilometers an hour, which is 2.54 miles. I don't know.
Okay.
Whatever the sonic is, 80% of that.
Okay. I'll have to do something after. Yeah. I feel like we're gonna have to create a CLI app to help us with our conversion.
I think that might have been the first program I ever like wrote, like Celsius to Fahrenheit or Fahrenheit to Celsius or something like that as a CLI program. But yeah, hold on. Train speed. I believe the Shinkansen in Japan goes like half as fast as like a 747.
Interesting. Yeah, there's trains here, but they just transport goods. I guess there's one train that comes through. There's a big Union Pacific that used to be here. I mean, the company's still here, but Omaha, where I'm from in the States, used to be a big hub for a lot of trains. So this is going to use SSH keys instead of something like a workload identity or something, which that might be a good like next thing to dive into is like, how do we get workload identity set up with SpinCube?
Yes. Sorry, I need to close this thought, which is
for sure.
You're like context switch. Like, hold on. I need to get this out there. Then I can like close this and we can like talk about that because you're probably right. Okay, so 300 kilometers an hour is around 190 miles per hour.
That's pretty fast.
Yeah, and that's like the speed of a 50-year-old train now.
Nice.
In Japan, I think they came out like in 1980s or something.
Well,
the max speed that they went was like double that. That's the fastest they've like ever gone. Dang. Yeah, it's kind of impractical.
The plane that I went on, I don't remember how big it was. On my honeymoon to Jamaica, that was going like 550 miles an hour. So I mean, like double that. That's pretty close. That's probably a small plane.
Oh yeah. They're very evenly matched. But that's like the world record of like train speed.
Yeah,
it's like about like.
It's still impressive that a train could go as fast as a plane. You know.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
The beauty of train. That in case you ever like meet train people like myself, they'll be like trains for reasons like that.
Trains are the everything.
Yes,
I think I've been on a train one time when I was like 9 and I got a little conductor hat. I thought that was super cool.
Wait, like the one time you were on there, you got a hat, or that was the
Yes.
one time you've been on a train in your
That
life?
is the one time I've been on a train in my life.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't count like the little
Wow.
shuttles around an airport as a train ride.
Arguably.
Yeah,
Arguably.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
that only puts it to like 5 times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing like if you ask me how often I've been like on a train, I'd like ask you how often you've been inside of a car. You know, it's like
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
Well, different landscapes, like it's just not
Yeah.
laid out the same. I mean, growing up in the rural Iowa where I was at, it was 15-minute drive to anywhere, so it just
Mm,
wasn't set up to be,
no.
like have public transportation.
It's like the East Coast and the West Coast of the US. They should have trains like up and down. Like going across is
It's
like
a
a little
solid idea.
trickier, but yeah. Anyway, okay. I can close that. You were saying
I don't know.
workload. You said something about like
Oh
workload
yeah,
identity.
yeah. So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah.
next step might be,
Okay.
so this is using SSH keys to get into the
Mhm,
cluster,
mhm.
um, which is fine. Which I don't know why you need. I'm curious why the SSH keys are going to be needed, because down here you're getting the credentials, and you could probably disconnect. I'm curious why the SSH keys are being used. We'll see.
Okay. Maybe the tutorial author thought that was easier, and we can file a patch to make it more streamlined.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll get further down
Okay.
and see. Okay, so the cluster is created. Now we need to connect to it. So this is a command that essentially is a helper that
Yeah.
will get basically adds the cluster's stuff to your kube config.
So real quick,
Yeah,
what did we just create?
we created an AKS cluster, which is
Mhm.
Azure's managed service for Kubernetes. So you create a Kubernetes cluster on Azure that's managed
Okay.
there. So
And it says node count 1, so that means a single
yep,
server and no.
single server. Yep,
Okay.
yep, and you could add more. The tier is free, so it kind of
Okay.
just picked the SKU for you. I don't know what free maps to as far as size, because you can change the size of the server and
Uh-huh.
different. So they're using tier to determine that. You could also specify the SKU and like the version of Kubernetes,
Yeah.
and we can investigate that if we connect to it.
Hmm.
So
Well, part of the pitch of like anything WebAssembly related is you need less compute power because we're doing like way less in the background.
that's nice, because I need 3 nodes just to run that Ratify project that I've been working on, because it
Oh my
takes
God.
2 installs. It takes a gatekeeper and it takes Ratify. And
Mhm.
you run into CPU limitations with one. I mean, at the SKU that I'm using, you could scale vertically or horizontally, right? And so,
Yeah.
but I need a pretty beefy single node, or I need 3, so I can split
Right.
the pods. Which, I mean, that's just the infrastructure. I haven't deployed anything to the cluster as far as an
Oh
application
wow.
workload. That's
Yeah.
just it's a verification framework, so it lets me check signatures and stuff. And right there, I'm at 3 nodes, which is at least 300 a month cost.
Dollars?
Yeah, like US dollars. Like to run
Oh.
to have that size of a cluster running 24/7. I
Yeah.
could
Oh my
I could shut
God.
it down and stuff, but so
That's spicy. Like
yeah,
I wouldn't want to pay that myself, for like a hobby thing.
Azure credits.
Oh yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, I use my MSDN that I get.
Yeah. It's more like for people in the audience who are like, I'd like to try a thing. It's like, okay, step one, pay $300. It's like, yeah, no.
That's if you want to leave it running. I mean, you could
All right.
stand it up and it's going to cost you $1 or 2, right?
Oh, fair enough. Fair
To
enough.
create and run. That's if you like. I don't shut it down at all, and I just keep my demo environment running in the background because I'm lazy.
That's
But
fair.
luckily, I've set up Terraform for it, so I can just destroy and rebuild.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's not too bad. But
That's
just to
nice.
give
Nice.
perspective, like compute's not cheap. That's the TLDR. Compute's not cheap, no matter where you go.
Hmm.
It's cheaper on-prem, obviously, if I were to just use my desktop or something. So now if I do, so I think I have an alias for K. So if you see me type K, it's just typing
Okay.
kubectl,
I see. I
so I don't
see.
have to tab. Get nodes. So we should see our single node now.
Mm-hmm.
And it decided to
Lovely.
pick version 1.29.7 for
And that's
Kubernetes.
okay. Yeah.
And so now we can it wants us to get the namespaces for some reason. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe just to make sure that you're connected, I would imagine.
Makes sense.
It might tell me in the text. I'm not reading the text. I'm just running commands. That's how I do.
Yeah. I'm reading along because I know nothing of this. So I'm like, oh, does that kind of match the output? And so far,
okay. Well, this is fun. So next we deploy the spin operator, which is a CRD, custom resource definition. And I just spent a lot of time with this on the Ratify project, so I learned quite a bit about them. And a runtime class. So these are giving. This is giving a new custom resource definition. So a resource, anything you deploy is a resource. Like, so if we do get API, get API resources, that's it. Or so maybe it's API resources. Yeah.
Ooh,
we can see
interesting.
this. So let me bring this down and run it again just so you can see all of it at once.
Is this like /dev but for Kubernetes almost? Or like /proc or something?
Yes. Yeah, that's a good analogy. So
Okay.
yeah, these are all the things that it could build. Like it's resource. So there's like namespaces, pod templates, pods. And so all these are the different resources that do different things. So like a service would be in front of an application and like would give it like its ports and stuff that it would use. Your ingress controller here is like how you connect to it through the internet. And so this is the big benefit of Kubernetes is it allows you to define your infrastructure basically through like APIs, like that's how all of it's done. And so what we're doing with the custom resource definition is we're giving it another resource to be able to create instances of. And so it's defining how that resource would be created. And so you deploy the CRD, which then makes that API endpoint available on the cluster to be able to create instances of the resource. And then the runtime class. I haven't dealt too much with classes, so this would be fun to look at. Runtime class is a resource that allows users to specify different container runtimes. Okay, well that makes sense why we need that, because we need we're not running containers, we're going to be running WebAssembly components or WebAssembly code. So we need WASM time or some other runtime class in here. And so that's what this is doing for us. Is giving us a definition so that Kubernetes is aware of what type of runtime this resource is going to be using.
I see. So I'm guessing runtime classes, you could use it for like anything. If you were like, hey, I'd like to run native Node.js without containers, give me your JavaScript. Like that would also work.
Yeah, potentially. I've never tried it, but in theory, that's what it should do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Here we're saying like, hey, instead of like containers, WebAssembly components.
Right.
Okay.
We should totally pull Paul into this, Paul Yu from our team, because he's got a lot of good Kubernetes background.
Yes.
Okay, so let's deploy the CRD.
By the way,
go ahead.
That URL is hard locked to 02.0. I think they may have done like new releases since.
Let's take a look. Let's see here. Releases.
Oh, no.
Looks late. Hey, props to them for having updated documentation.
Hey, yeah. It's nice, right?
Yeah.
Is that I guess that is the last one.
Yep.
Cool.
So instead of downloading the file, typically what you'd have is like the CRD in YAML format somewhere else. Let's just take a look at it though, so people can see what a CRD looks like.
Okay.
Or it's going to download it.
Definition?
Yep, custom resource definition.
Custom resource definition.
Let's do this. New. Paste this in.
Okay.
There we go. Because who wants to look at Notepad? I can't increase this font size there.
2,000 lines of YAML.
Is it really?
Wow. Yeah, if you go to the bottom, it says 2,000, I think.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah. Well, there's a lot to this apparently.
Yep.
So custom resource definition. I was actually built by KubeBuilder, which is the tool that I used. That's just a like helper tool to help you build out CRDs and operators and stuff.
Yep.
There's a lot to that tool too. It took me like 2 weeks to skill up in using that. But this is like everything that defines the custom resource. We'll see all this as we start to use. Oh, it's got multiple. Spin operator. Okay. So there's the operator, and then what was up here? Is this the core operator? Okay. I won't try to understand this right now.
It seems like a lot of it is also documentation, which is great, I assume.
And that's most useful. Let's see here. No such file.
Oh, you only copied the URL.
Well, that's part of the problem. Okay, so we created those two. Now we'll create our runtime class. And now if we do get our K API resources, grep, I'd imagine I have spin in the name. There we go. We have our spin app executors and our spin app CRDs.
Lovely.
And so we could get spin app executors, and I don't think we'll probably have any list if we haven't created them yet. I'm just curious. Spin apps. No spin apps. So the following installs Cert Manager, which is required to automatically provision and manage TLS certificates used by the admission hook system of the spin operator. Okay.
Can't get over the fact that's called Acme.Cert Manager. It's just very funny to me.
Let's see. Home install.
For anyone who's under the age of 30, I assume that's Looney Tunes, like Roadrunner.
It's been a minute. I should have my kids start watching that so I can.
Oh.
Weren't you telling me that the Matt Butcher, is he the CEO or C something? Fermion? And he co-created Helm or like created Helm?
So, yeah.
I think there's a connection there.
You went from Looney Tunes to like Matt Butcher?
I just saw Helm and then that's triggered that.
Oh, okay.
An afternoon or a good day, whichever it is for you. Thanks for tuning in.
Is it still morning on your side?
It is. It is 9:50 a.m.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. We're well in the afternoon here.
So Cert Manager, the spin operator chart also has a dependency on KWASM, which you should. What is KWASM? Is that the shim? It's a Kubernetes operator that adds WebAssembly support to your Kubernetes nodes. It does this by using a container image that contains. Oh, this is exactly what we did in the beginning, where we built a container image that had WASM time in it. That's what this is doing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
That contains binaries and configuration variables needed to run pure WebAssembly images.
I love that.
So we were on the right track. They're just ahead of us.
Yep.
Okay, so let's deploy that. And they made a fancy operator for it. That would be a fun exercise. I find myself just recreating a bunch of stuff lately to learn. That would be another one. Okay. It also makes sense now why these tutorials are probably all going to be littered with Helm stuff instead of doing it doing Helm's a great tool. I'm not knocking Helm at all. I love Helm.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out like who made this. And the person with the most commits on Helm is indeed Matt.
Yeah. Well, I think
so that would check out.
There he is.
Hey.
I think he had it on here. Yeah. Helm. Creator of Helm pack. Is that different than Helm? Or is that just its handle? That's just its handle. So yes, creator.
Oh, okay.
Helm pack.
There we go.
And why am I not following Matt? That's terrible. I fixed that right meow. Sorry, Super Troopers reference if you didn't.
I don't know if I like it.
Okay, well, this here's the tangent.
You're talking to someone who's got like a cat around them like 24/7. Like, yeah.
Super Trooper. You've never seen Super Troopers?
I have no idea what that is.
It's that cop, like spoof cop movie. You will laugh a lot. It's called The Cat Game. So essentially what they do, so the whole premise of the show is there are these cops that are just like goofing around all the time. They do all these pranks, and they're not super good cops, but they're going to get their station shut down. And they got to change their ways or whatever.
Yeah.
But one of the pranks that they do is when they do a routine stop, you have to, whoever says meow the most times without like getting the person catching on to them wins the game. And so I'll send this to you because it's for at least this clip, because you'll appreciate it since you have cats.
Yes.
So now you know if I say like right meow, that's
Got it.
that's where it's from. Okay.
All right.
So I think we've got kind of the cluster maybe set up. Let's look at install. So we still got a couple more things to get the cluster ready to deploy. So this whole first section we've been doing is just deploying a bunch of stuff to the AKS cluster so that we can run WebAssembly on AKS, which makes sense because it's a good orchestrator. And we get to reuse our existing infrastructure. So,
okay.
All right, where did we leave off? Last command was annotate. Did we do that? Okay, we annotated the pool or the KWASM SH. Okay. To verify that the container DWASM shim installation, you can inspect the logs. And what are we looking for in the logs? Does it tell me? AKS pool job. Happy WASMing. Do we see that?
Yeah, the last line.
Yeah. Okay.
Yay.
So logs are good. Now we install. This is probably what we're talking about. This is the operator you're mentioning, the Helm chart. Right here.
Lovely.
So we'll install the spin operator.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not something that I've done, is build an operator. Okay. Spin operator is now deployed. You release this name spin operator to learn more. Do these things. And then it wants us to lastly create the shim executor. Okay. And I am just curious what this executor is doing. Did I copy all of it? I was just going to download it for me.
That seems small enough.
Config runtime class. Okay.
Seems like a little bit of, I guess, glue code almost.
Let's take a look. What was this doing? Bring it over here. It is saying that it's a spin app executor. So it's creating a resource for the executor. So now if we did like, was it a git API resources? Oh, no. SPK. Grab spin. And then there's the app executors. If we get those, so spin app executors, we should see that new shim created. So it created an instance of the executor for us.
Okay, lovely.
That's what it did. And then we can describe that, and which should match that file that we just did. And it was called container d shim spin. And that looks very similar to what we downloaded, where create deployment is true, install default certificates.
Okay.
Where did I
and
see
it populates like a bunch of other things.
Yeah. Yeah, it fills it in. Like those are defaults that are created or provided by the cluster when it's created.
I see. Okay.
I believe. Oh, there it is. Install default CA certs. So take this JSON value, turn it into this value, which is part of the spec for the resource, which is this is defined in the CRD.
Okay.
The custom resource definition. All right. Now we're back. Now we can deploy the app.
All right. Okay, great. So what we now have is a way to, I guess, deploy like WebAssembly things, then stuff to manage it, and something about default certificate, like a certificate sort of bundled, like connect to things. Is that
I would imagine the certificates are being used to communicate from spin to the cluster, so then the cluster can communicate out. So there's basically trust established between the operator of the cluster, and then like the cluster and the spin instance itself. Like those are probably what the certificates are being used for.
I thought for a sec because I saw Acme in there. I was like, oh, Acme, that's the Let's Encrypt stuff. So like public facing certificates.
Yeah, it might. There probably is being used that. So I don't know how Kubernetes is going to let spin talk to the public, if it's going to make it go through the cluster or if it's going to just create an ingress for spin. Like that would be interesting to dive into to see how that's kind of set up.
Okay.
But that would be one of the two ways. They could put a service and ingress from Kubernetes standpoint in front of the Kubernetes stuff or the spin stuff to let spin talk through those, or it could. That's probably how it's being done. But we got a nice comment here.
Hey,
thank you very much, William. And I think we have a good time doing this stuff, make the content, so it's a win-win.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm definitely learning stuff here where I'm like, okay, let's go through.
I'm glad the tables have turned.
Yes.
Because I saw a couple minutes I was going through doing some edits of our last couple, and I was like, oh, there's a minute where Josh's brain just locked up with WebAssembly stuff. But pain is growth. So most of the time, unless you're deadlifting and your back hurts, then it's not growth.
Please take care of yourself.
We should have included that conversation on stream too, I guess.
Yeah.
The woes of ego lifting. Can you check your inbox on Twitch? Left you a message. Okay. I can definitely check my inbox if you send it to me, and I'm sure Josh will check his as well. But thanks for the comment. All right. So
let's now, deploy.
Yeah. So I think it took us like 30, with commentary. Cut out 15 minutes. So maybe 15 minutes to set up the AKS cluster.
I bet if you just copy and paste, it gets so much quicker.
I think it takes 6-7 minutes to set up, like to start the cluster.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. If you already had a cluster, which is probably the case though, then
that's fair.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. So, didn't like that. Let's see. Let's deploy the app. So let's take a look at this sample app.
Oh, can you just curl it like from the command line?
That's probably a way better idea.
Because I was like, you keep like doing the thing and then downloading and then pasting. I'm like, wait, hold on.
Yosh optimization. I love it.
Hey.
No. I need to get your history thing. That's what I'm about to do.
A-Twin. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a simple app. It's going to spin Rust Hello app, one replica. So this is where I'm most comfortable, is these manifests that define like how the application is deployed. So this is the container image that's going to be deployed.
Okay.
Well, I guess it'll be a WebAssembly image now, but this is really great because from an operator's perspective, this looks identical to a container image. Like there's no difference, and it's on a cluster that's already created. We had this conversation earlier where the great part about using Kubernetes is like, because I lived through the transition of like convincing an organization to adopt Kubernetes, and that's like a 5-year battle. So if there was another platform that needed to be adopted to deploy WebAssembly, that's just a battle, a repeated battle that doesn't really need to happen. We'll see like if Kubernetes is super inefficient with it at scale, but we'll find out.
Kubernetes is also so configurable that whatever might be inefficient I bet you can replace with something that's like more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like it's more like a framework for naming things and then shipping some default things, but you can almost like swap every part out.
It's probably why the spin operator is there, so you're not relying on the built-in stuff, Kubernetes, to handle the request. And then the executor. Okay, so the difference here is we're defining an executor in this manifest. This is something that you would not have in the container image. You would have other constraints like what CPU and stuff you wanted. And then one replica, so just one of them. So this is the deployment for it. Cool.
That looks amazing.
So that's straightforward we would just take that. I'm curious how they're uploading the images. Like, where's this?
I'm pretty certain they're just using the spec. I bet if you point ORAS at that URL, you can ORAS pull, I think, right?
Yeah. Oh, good call. And I have ORAS installed, I think.
Uh-huh.
What was the switch to like
It's
to like put it to a file?
Yeah. It's expand or something, but
Is it? Oh no. OCI layout.
Yeah. That's one.
Okay. So we do pull. Fail invalid argument. No such file.
Switch the position of the args.
Okay. I think maybe the URL doesn't like it. Let's just try to pull it.
Okay.
No, it can pull.
Okay.
Oh, I have to specify a directory.
Ah, I see.
OCI layout. What directory am I in? Just my home directory? Yeah. Let's change to spin.
Mm-hmm.
Now we'll do this. Dash. It was just dash. OCI layout dot. Expected one argument, but I got two.
What?
There we go. No. Oh, two OCI layout. I'm missing.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I was also like, what? It's dash as well.
Dash two OCI layout, and then now I can specify
dot.
struggle bus.
Okay. It might be the argument ordering actually.
To OCI layout dot should work for relative directory, right?
Yeah.
Unknown.
Ooh.
Oh, I need the cop. We need to read. Let's slow down here.
Oh, ORAS copy.
Yes.
No, we've done this before. We've gone through this.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And this might not like it because it does one at the end.
Yes. Okay.
Ooh.
Position matters here.
Yep.
To OCI layout dot. Yes. When am I going to get that stream board so I can do the confetti? I wonder if I can make the animation on screen too, where it's like, yay!
Probably.
Of the grunts, I don't know if you played Halo.
I have.
So you're familiar. And look at this. Doesn't this look familiar?
Hey, I think we can just cat the files, right? Like
yeah.
And they're blobs.
Clear, so cat, blob.
Do you have the tree command, by the way?
Oh, I do. That's the binary.
Okay. Can you run a tree just real quick?
Sure.
Yeah, there.
Oh, it's got multiple, so there must be multiple components. Let's look at them. Let's see. So blob, Shaw. We looked at the first one. That's another binary.
Yeah, you can do WASM tools. If you really want to point at it, WASM dash tools. If you have it.
Oh, dash tools. I might have it. No.
Cargo install WASM dash tools. Yeah. And I think it's a WASM tools component.
Okay.
And then No, my cat's got a hairball. Hold on. Putting my keyboard out of range.
Let's see if I have the message.
WASM tools component, and then wit to see what's inside.
Okay. To a particular file that's binary?
Yeah.
Okay. While that's going on, tree. I want to look at, see if we can't find those config files because they should be in here too. Cat, blob, SHA, B6.
Sure.
That's encoded.
Nope.
I wonder if they're all, I don't know. Blobs, cat, blobs, SHA.
Pipe
BC.
it into head.
There's it. There it is. There's a config.
Yeah. Hey, lovely. Pipe it into JQ if you have it.
JQ. What's the?
Doesn't matter. Just nothing.
Just do. Oh, fantastic.
See, better.
Venice.
Okay,
so components done, and you said WASM tools component
wit,
like that.
Yeah, like that, and then
the file.
Yep.
Blah SHA. And I think it could be this one. What's not UTF-8?
Ooh.
What is that file then? Let's try
6.4.
Not UTF-8. B6 does not like it.
You can also do WASM tools validate.
WASM tool. Oh.
And then point out the file. Yeah.
Blob SHA 4.
I'll just be like, hey, is this valid WebAssembly? It says no. That's not WebAssembly.
Is it spins WebAssembly?
It might be something. I don't know what it is. It could be an image, maybe. If you really want to know, you can do a hex dump at the file. Is that hex dump? Yeah, it's hex dump. Because then you can get the magic bytes at the start of it.
Okay. Do you know the command for that?
Yeah, just hex dump.
Oh, hex. Do I have it? Yeah.
Probably.
Okay, hex dump what?
The file name.
Okay.
Open a hex editor, and then you can look at the first little prefix, and we can like pipe it into head maybe. There. Okay, so that's a little sequence. If you copy and paste those bytes and just stick them inside of like the first, I don't know, 5 or 6, just the first row.
Okay.
Paste that into Google, like search for that. I don't know. Okay, it's unhappy. It's because those should be like magic bytes. Magic bytes. List of file signatures. Okay. Well, yeah, they should be magic numbers for whatever binary file format that is.
Okay.
But we know
that it's probably the WebAssembly stuff, or it has to be.
It could be a JPEG, honestly. Maybe. We don't have to like figure out like what the actual thing is. We know that the WebAssembly JSON's in there.
Well, we should be. I wonder if they're uploading it the same way that they did the OCI images, or probably different. They might not be doing it to spec. They might have just used OCI. So if we look at this URL, we should be able to go spin operator the sample app.
No, there should be this. This should be the spec. This should be the spec.
So if we go here and we change raw to just GitHub.
Okay. GitHub.com.
this should be listed in packages, right? The sample.
Yes.
Don't see the sample on packages.
What's the name of the thing again?
Oh, it's Hello World. It is right here. So they are using, they're using it the same way.
So this is the README of the repo. You have to click through to a version to like see what's in it.
Here.
There.
So yeah, this will tell us if they're using the spec, right? Wasn't there a web spin? Oh no! Look, see, they're using.
I can barely read it, like from this
here.
distance.
Here, let me copy this out. You'll. I don't want all that. They're not because. Come on. There we go. If you look at the media type, so this is standard. They're using a Fermion spin application config, so they're not using the OCI.
I see.
Spec.
I see. Yeah, so they're doing a little custom thing.
Yep.
But they also support spec compliant stuff.
Okay.
So we, even if like this is not the standard,
so we should be able to use their stuff to deploy our spec compliant package.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because actually it's pretty interesting to just like look at, because I have config v1 plus JSON, application v1 plus config plus WASM.
This is the WASM.
Yeah, and check the last one. The
octet stream.
Correct.
What is that?
Bytes. Unknown bytes is what octet stream is.
All right. Well, we'll email Caleb and say,
"Dear Caleb."
Let's start super formal. Dear Caleb,
explain yourself.
Yeah, just leave it at Dear Caleb, explain yourself. Paste the file.
No.
Awesome. Well, they probably had that working before the spec was out. That's, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got it downloaded. It applied it, but now we need to forward the ports. So let's just look at our pods, though. I wonder if it shows up as a pod or like what it shows up as from a Kubernetes resource perspective.
Ooh, interesting. I don't think we've deployed it yet, have we?
So this right here should have deployed it. Did we not run that?
I don't think we ran it.
Well, we'll run it. Okay, you're right. It didn't.
Okay.
So pods, it does run it as a pod. So it's still using the same like mechanisms that containers would. And so if we describe this,
I wonder if saying it uses the same mechanisms is accurate, or more like it patches into the same terminology.
Well, from the Kubernetes perspective, pod's a pod is just changing what makes up the pod, but it's still a pod from a resource perspective. So it's still the same like Kubernetes internal mechanisms.
Okay.
It's using the same, because if it was using something different, but it's the same concept, it would be called like component, or like I would get components, or I would get WASM something.
I see.
So
describe
pod. So if we
kubelet, nice.
Bring that up. This is cool. This is really slick. Because we had to go through quite a bit of shenanigans to get this to deploy this. Yeah, I mean that was like 3 streams to 3 hours to less than an hour.
Oh yeah, I mean we've been talking about trains and like what deadlifts,
all over,
pulling out funny videos while doing this, and
opting for port forwarding temporarily so you can get to it instead of doing like an ingress or a service or something.
Okay.
So let's start a new one. We get okay and hello from Spin.
Hello from Spin. Hell yeah.
Okay, done. That's super cool.
Okay.
So let's see here. Questions.
Okay.
Why? I know you can't see this, but I'll just speak it. Why use the cert manager?
Okay.
What communications is it being used to encrypt? And then I want to know, like, how do you make spin apps? Because I think that if we were to look at the spin apps now, because if we did K API resources, oh, we need to grep for spin. Spin apps. So K get spin apps. We have our simple spin app, and executor is the container shim, which is fantastic. So if we do K get pods, it should have the same prefix. So that's how we get the spin apps. So how do we make spin apps accessible via the public internet? Maybe you just put a service in front of them, but that would be because port forwarding allowed us to do that from inside the cluster. But I want to know, like, how could you hit the WASI Clippy without needing to do any port forwarding or have access to my cluster?
Right.
So that would be a good one. And then the next one would be how do we get Azure workload identity to work with spin apps? So, and I think that's what they're working with, the key value pair. We ran into some of that documentation because say we get our component up here, but we need a key value store or something. We want to use Cosmos. We're going to have some mechanism to use a workload identity for the spin apps to be able to talk through the cluster to other Azure resources. So that'd be another good follow-up discovery.
Oh, sick. I'm looking through the docs, and there's a tutorial explaining how to do at least the make it accessible to the public internet.
Sweet. So, doc for next time. Excellent.
For sure.
Okay.
I am really because I feel like you're like, hey, maybe we should round up. And I think that this would be a great stopping point, but I'm super curious about one thing.
What's the one thing?
What happens if so without going and debugging if it doesn't work, but what happens if we try and deploy our little hello WASI Clippy demo?
Oh, the WASI Clippy?
Yeah.
Do you have it as a package on your repo? Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, let's give it a try. Let's save this as no, don't do that. Go away.
Because it should just be a package with a URL, which means we can just deploy it the way we have.
Let's put this in spin and WASI Clippy.yaml. And then if we look at, do we have that still in here? Untitled, there it is. This is what we need, right? No. Here, we'll get that image from the sample. We need to curl. Oh, that's what that's what you told me to curl things.
Missing an H.
So we need this. And we'll go to this file. And then do you have the URL to your packaged WASI Clippy?
Yep.
And then we need to name this differently.
Here, I pasted it in our chat.
Okay. Un momento.
Un momento. Un momento.
There you go.
Hey, I'm learning.
You're going to be on the cast for the next Super Troopers, I think. Well, I guess to start, do you like dumb funny?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only type of funny.
Then you'll love Super Troopers. So now we do K apply -f WASI Clippy. Created.
Ooh.
So let's do K get pods. we should see another pod. Crash pod won't
Ooh.
loop, so it might not have worked
Oh.
with valid image. That would have been sweet
Uh-oh.
if it just worked, but how often does that happen?
Yeah.
Describe.
So it means it was like, okay, I see this. I know what this is. Let me try and start it. Whoa, what's happening?
Pulling image, successfully pulled image. Container started. Back off restarting fields.
Already present on machine. What?
The image was.
Oh, okay.
Because it pulled already. And then it created the WASI
Okay.
app. And
Okay.
started that. And then, so I wonder if we do get, was it spin apps? This might be where, yeah, let's describe this. Spin app. And then this. True is progressing. False. Maybe we can get
Is there a way to
logs.
get logs or something? Yeah.
Logs. Would this be a deployment name? Let's
WASI Clippy dash spin app. Right?
Okay, get deployments. Yeah, so it's a deployment, so we can get logs. So k logs deployment / WASI Clippy spin app. No logs, probably because our app's not logging anything.
The simple spin app doesn't do it. Oh, could be because it's like trying to listen on 8080. No,
because we didn't define in our deployment that it should do anything, so it should just start it up and then have no way to communicate until we do port forwarding.
Right.
Let's see.
That's so funny.
Describe.
And we have no logs.
Some crash loop back off.
It's so funny.
Pods.
It's very interesting to me. Like it got through all the validation stages. I was like, yep, I'm happy to run this. And then like at the last minute, it says like, I can't start this for some reason.
So recognize it as a valid image, but then starting it, so the executor might not like the format of our package, of the OCI, like the
it should.
package.
They did add support for it.
Okay. Maybe we
might.
I don't know.
I mean, we like I said, we don't have to like debug it right now. I was more curious, like, does it just work?
That is a good
question.
Like, well, it's a good resume point for us.
Yeah.
Because like that's a real thing. That's gonna be the first thing people are gonna do is like go and try to deploy their own thing on it.
Yes.
And see like, is there just some kind of config value we need to change in the manifest or you know, what have you? So
exactly. This is fun. We've got a cluster.
Yeah, that can take WebAssembly, which is super awesome.
Or are you going to keep it up, or are you going to tear it down again?
The cluster?
Yeah.
We'll see until I run out of credits. I'll keep it up. I'll keep it up for tomorrow. I'll have enough credits for tomorrow. All right. So yeah, that way you can dive right back in.
Aren't we like on a free tier anyway?
True. So it shouldn't cost me anything. I can keep it up.
Okay.
Good point.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, cool. That seems like a good place. We've got a nice little stuff to explore for next time, which is tomorrow.
I like the linkage. Linkage is it's important, and I think that's really interesting. I'm curious too. Like, how do we, like, what do we need to change? Like, where do we even get the logs from? Because we're not seeing anything. You know, is it an error on our application side? Is it an error on the executor side? We'll have to keep tinkering with the cluster and find out. So.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is good feedback too. Like, hey, our stuff isn't starting. How do we debug this even? I don't know. I'm hoping like through this, like we have done with like the on the Rust tooling, on the WebAssembly specific tooling, we can sort of come out of this with like bug reports or things where it's like, hey, we tried doing this, we got no feedback. The obvious places gave us nothing, and maybe they're like, oh yeah, we can add a log line and that'll fix it. And it's like, oh great.
Maybe we'll get to the point where we can, because I'm fairly familiar with the Kubernetes like layout, like building. I've not built an operator, but I've built CRDs and stuff. So maybe there's even something that we can contribute. I don't know if all that's open source or not, but
yeah,
find out. I think a lot of it is.
I believe so for Fermion, their SDK, their Spin, and even I believe Spin Cube is part of CNCF now.
Okay. Well, then,
they're
yeah,
all
we
open
could
source.
file an issue and maybe even use some of the stream time to hack on that.
Yeah,
We
for
could be
sure.
in Goland.
Goland.
Not the editor, but programming in Go.
Oh, right. I mean, you'll get to show me because I'm like, I haven't written Go in like a decade, maybe. So yeah, but never
Awesome.
serious, but just like even trying it out.
Even dabbling.
So long. Yeah, exactly. So it'll be fun. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. Well, it'll be in the morning for me.
Yes.
So I think it's scheduled for 8:30. We'll start around 8:39 probably. Is what we usually do.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning, and we'll dive back into this, and we'll see if we can't get Wesley Clippy deployed at SpinCube.
Yep. I'm
All right.
looking forward to it.
All right. See you then. See you everybody. Catch you next time.